It's those magic words, everybody. It is game day. What to expect from the Orlando Magic as we get set for their first preseason game, and what they've been working on in practice, the buzz coming from the Orlando Magic. We'll get to the whole, all that, and a whole lot more. It's time for a Monday edition of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is October 3rd, 2022. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're talking about kind of the biggest thing that everyone's been buzzing about at Orlando Magic training camp. The fact that there are no positions and God is dead. No, that last part probably isn't true, but we'll talk about the Magic's decisions to try out different lineups and what we might see tonight as the Orlando Magic take on the Memphis Grizzlies. Plus, we'll hear from Bol Bol, probably the guy everyone's been buzzing about the most at Orlando Magic training camp. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. The Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is also brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. So, there's obviously been this obsession when it comes to Orlando Magic, when it comes to acquiring players with length. We joke about it. Jeff Waltman's joked with us about it. There's a very real, it's a joke, but it's also very, very real. That this is a team, this is an organization that loves length, that loves positional versatility. And as the Magic have been trying to build and trying to find talent and frankly just trying to rebuild, they've looked for players that can play multiple positions, that can do multiple things, and really just kind of as they look ahead to the future, understand that the way this league is working, the way this league is going, it's not about what position. It's not about what position you would have played 10 years ago. It's about the skills that you have today. Why did the Magic play Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter together? Quite simply, the Magic wanted to play their five best players together as much as possible. And to that point, that lineup of Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter had a net rating last year, I think like minus 1.1, which considering the Magic's overall net rating was minus 8 or 9, that's a really good number. That starting lineup did some really good things. And I will sit here and say, as much as I don't think Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba should play together as much as they did last year, I think they played about 2/3 of their minutes together. I don't think that's a lineup the Magic should completely abandon. I would expect to see lineups like that. The truth of the matter is, though, the Magic have so many interesting young players. The Magic have so many kind of these big centers who play like guards that they are and should be in the business of experimenting. If this is still a season where, yes, winning is more important, yes, results are more important, yes, kind of the mindset toward winning is more important, but winning isn't ultimately how we're going to judge this season, then yes, this is still a time, this is still a season to experiment. Frankly, for the Magic to figure out what kind of team they're going to be. And as I think I've said numerous times this offseason, the Magic should be in the business of trying to figure out what players they have and how they can use them and the different ways that they can use them. And so it is no surprise that one of the things that everyone's been kind of buzzing about, both on social media, but kind of lightly in practice too, and among us when we talk to the players, one thing that everyone has been buzzing about is this potential for a big lineup. 100% expect tonight to see a lineup with Wendell Carter, with Paolo Banchero, with Bol Bol. And you can decide who's the three. Frankly, the Magic have been trying lineups with those three plus Franz Wagner at the 2. The Magic have a lot of length. The Magic have a lot of size. They've got a lot of players they need to play. They're going to try some funky lineups. And the question, of course, is whether those lineups can be effective. But for now, it's about trying it and seeing it out there on the floor together. We'll get to Bol Bol here in a minute, but Bol Bol has been one of the standouts at training camp by all accounts. He has been someone that a lot of the players, perhaps, didn't quite know what to think of, but has really impressed a lot of people. He's been able to hit shots. He's been able, he's just been able to be on the floor. We all know the talent that he has. He's just been able to be on the floor. And while, Denver kind of used him as a 3 at times last year because they were a little afraid of him banging down low, the Magic aren't going to be afraid to use him anywhere on the floor, it sounds like. That, frankly, the Magic aren't going to be afraid to use anyone anywhere on the floor. As Mo Bamba put it, defensively, it's actually easier to play with 3 bigs because essentially they just switch those 3 players. Wendell Carter is capable of defending the perimeter. They clearly believe Bol Bol can play the perimeter. They think Mo Bamba can play the perimeter a little bit. They're going to just switch those defenders and always have a shot blocker in the paint. That's kind of a scary idea. And then you got Paolo and Franz, who are also extremely long. But what they lack in speed, they hope they can make up for in help defense and length to just deter people from the rim. And if teams are hitting mid-range shots over them, so be it. But this all gets to a larger philosophy about what the Magic want to accomplish this season. We'll probably dive a little bit more into the offense on either Tuesday or Wednesday's episode of Locked On Magic. Tomorrow will be game recap. But one of the big kind of philosophical points that Jamal Mosley has kind of drawn out over the course of training camp so far is that positions are kind of fuzzy. So don't obsess over who's the point guard. Paolo is going to bring the ball up or run point a few times. Franz is going to do the same. Those experiments are going to happen during the preseason and during training camp. But one thing that they've talked about is within this offense, everyone has to have responsibility and everyone has to be capable of doing everything. Mosley wants to develop a player not just within a prescribed role or within a prescribed kind of idea of what a role is. He doesn't want Wendell Carter to just be a center. He wants him to be able to make passes. He wants him to understand what everyone else is doing so that he can be a more complete player. And that's part of why these big lineups that we're probably going to see aren't really thought of as that big of a deal. Because at the end of the day, Mosley, I think Mosley said this directly. At the end of the day, these are basketball players. These are not a center I'm trying to develop. He's trying to develop basketball players, complete and whole basketball players. Because within this Magic offense, which, as we saw last year, is pretty fluid. It's a read-based offense more than a set-based offense. There's movements to get guys open and actions to get guys open. But at the end of the day, what he wants is he wants players reacting off of each other to be able to make reads within some set guidelines, but for the offense to be pretty unpredictable at times. And so he wants everyone to know how to do everything, how to be a cutter in this situation, how to be a screener in this situation, how to be a playmaker in this situation. And that overall philosophy is what enables him to try these kinds of lineups. Magic fans are certainly going to be buzzing when these lineups come down, and they should be because it's interesting. It's again, we're coming from, no offense to Steve Clifford. I think Steve Clifford is a fantastic coach, but Steve Clifford's very structured. He wants things, he wants guys to have very specific roles and to have a lot of stability. Mosley, and I think that's really good for a young team as they're learning and as they're figuring things out. I don't think that's necessarily bad. I will stick to it. I think Steve Clifford would have been good for the early part of this rebuild. But when you get into the playoffs and you have to have that improvisation and you have to be able to find ways to crack a defense when the defense knows exactly what you're trying to do, the improvisation and the fluidity that Jamal Mosley's preaching could be much more effective. And so the Magic this year are going to be testing that in all sorts of ways. And they're going to be testing that a lot by going big. It's going to be one of the big things that we are absolutely going to watch over the course of these preseason games, and certainly tonight as the Magic take on the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to hear from Bol Bol after Sunday's practice, talk a little bit about him, plus what to expect in tonight's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our pals at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Literally, you just go on the site. It's easy to create a free job post on the LinkedIn Jobs board. You then add your job, add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. Finish the year strong with the right team member to help you get the most out of the rest of the year and beyond. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. When we come back, we will hear from Bol Bol, the man of the hour, talk a little bit about him and what he's done this training camp. We'll get to him coming up here in just a moment.
How do you compliment one another when you're on the floor?
Well, we're both 7 feet and we have a lot of length, so defensively that helps us like cover a lot of ground and helps hide and blocks and all that. But we're both able to put the ball on the floor and shoot, and that's just good for us because we have a lot of different guys that can do the same thing, but we're like all the same size.
How unique is it on this team where you have so many bigs who can do so many different things, the versatility, the spacing you can touch on?
I think it's very unique because like we're all capable of doing the same thing. It's not like we're all like stationary bigs. We can all make plays for each other and shoot and drive, and so I mean that's just gonna help us.
Is this the healthiest you've ever been?
Yeah, I feel like.
Was the off season kind of all about just kind of strengthening your body, getting your mind right?
Off season was mostly like just a lot of like movements and stuff from my foot and just like figuring out how to stay healthier and like a lot of feet stuff in rehab.
How comfortable has it been kind of integrating with this group? I mean, obviously you kind of were here toward the end of last season, but not on the court. What's it been like kind of being on the court with these guys?
They've been making it very easy for me because they've just been helping me like everything I don't understand. They'll put me aside and then like even afterwards we'll talk about it. So everyone's been very helping and they just like it's been very easy because like we're all helping each other.
For you, how do you feel like you're playing? Do you feel like you're making the progress that you wanted to see in camp?
I feel like I'm playing pretty good so far. I'm just still getting used to like the plays and everything and the movements and the rotating because we're all like bigs, but we all shoot and dribble. So we're just used to getting the spacing and playing. And that's what we're getting used to.
Were there players you modeled your game after growing up? Like if you watch certain guys, you'd be like, I kind of want to do things like that guy.
Definitely, I watched a lot of Kevin Durant because he was tall and he can do literally everything. And that's probably who I watched the most growing up.
Do you feel like this place was kind of a perfect place for you where you were in your career, you sort of needed an opportunity and maybe a situation like this with a lot of other young players to sort of expand your game?
I think so because like we're a very young team and we're all growing together. So like there's no pressure on me to like be able to come here and do anything because like we're all figuring it out. So I think it's a good place for me to just figure it out.
Is there any aspect of your game that you think will surprise people this season?
Probably passing. People say I can't pass or whatever, don't make plays. But I think my playmaking.
Getting the chance to play with guys like Wendell, like Mo, like Franz, like Collar, how much of an adjustment is it to play with other bigs? You know, especially knowing that the league's kind of going to this positionless kind of style.
It's not a hard adjustment, like I said again, because we can all do the same thing. So, like, no matter where we are all on the floor, it's still the same thing. So that's what's gonna make it easy for us.
Is everybody good? Mo, you have any questions?
I do not.
All right, we're good.
Special thanks to Mo Bamba for the assist on that. If you noticed when the camera suddenly jumped up a foot, that was when Mo took my camera. Obviously, like Bol Bol, you know, is someone that we're still kind of figuring out and still getting to know. You know, I think that's one of the keys here. Is, you know, we're still learning who Bol Bol is. He's obviously coming off an injury that's really plagued him throughout his entire career so far. He's played only 50 or so games in 3 seasons, played only 14 last year. He had the foot injury that had his trade to Detroit canceled. Then he was traded to Boston, then he was traded to Orlando. So he's kind of been moving around. But to hear Magic players say it, Bol Bol is someone that they're really, really excited about. And so he is, you know, if you're asking me who am I watching the most or who am I most eager to see, it's Bol Bol right now, because we haven't seen him play, but like Terrence Ross has been talking like, oh, Bol is just killing it. He's doing some great things in pickup runs. Or Wendell Carter, you know, said, you know, the best shooter among the bigs is Bol Bol. If you watch I think the training camp video that the Magic released on their Twitter account yesterday, Bol Bol makes a block that on Wendell Carter on essentially a dunk or layup by Wendell Carter, that when I was just like thumbing through the video, I watched it, I was just like, oh, dang. And, you know, that was something that Mo and Bol both said yesterday is, you know, the bigs on this team do things that make everyone else go, whoa, how did you do that? Like there's, I think earlier in the week, someone mentioned that Bol Bol was able to block a shot by Mo Bamba, which is just really difficult to do because Mo shoots the ball so high at such a big height. You know, again, it's training camp. They're playing against each other. He's getting minutes. There's something there to be excited about it. And I think one of the goals for this preseason is to get Bol Bol playing and to see exactly what he can do against a different opponent and how they can potentially use him. I would bet that Bol Bol right now is penciled into the rotation, which I probably wouldn't have said a week ago. But now that we've had training camp, you know, now that we'll get a good look at him, we'll see exactly what he can do. And so he is certainly someone that a lot of people are buzzing about, that a lot of people are eager to see. We're going to talk a little bit more about what more to expect from tonight's preseason game against the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic your first listen every day. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview starting October 10th. That's next Monday. A 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and the NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey all combining into one ultimate NBA preview. Starting next Monday, October 10th, search for Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. I recorded my preview segment last week, had a lot of fun chatting with the guys. Us at the bottom, we just have fun. It's fun at the bottom. I'm sorry, everything's exciting for us. Definitely check that out when it comes out. Today's podcast also brought to you by our pals at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Hopefully they don't have preseason lines. That's stupid. Do not bet on NBA preseason. But the opening line for the Magic's opening night game against the Detroit Pistons is out now on BetOnline. Has the Pistons -4.5. You can also check out great odds and great lines on Paolo Banchero's stat line. And of course, who's going to win Rookie of the Year? It's going to be Paolo, just letting y'all know now. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So tonight, 8 o'clock, the Orlando Magic take on the Memphis Grizzlies. For those of us in the Orlando area, it will not be broadcast locally. It is being broadcast in Memphis. It is not clear whether that broadcast will be available on NBA League Pass. It has been in the past, so if you are an NBA League Pass subscriber, you may be able to watch the game. Otherwise, you can check out my friend Jake Chapman, as well as Jeff Turner, I believe, on the radio call on, I forget which radio station they're on now, but I believe 104.1 FM for the radio here in Central Florida. Check OrlandoMagic.com for the full radio information. I always have my radio handy. Where is it? I just said that and then I don't have it handy. Here it is. Oh no, that's not it. I always have my radio handy just for one purpose, and that is to listen to Orlando Magic preseason games. I think it's over in my cabinet over there. Whatever. But it's still going to be a really... it's fun just to have the Magic playing again. Let's just get that out of the way. It's fun to have games again. We haven't had game since, I think, like April 15th. Eager to see the Magic get out there. Eager to see what they look like. Even though the Magic have missed some practice time because of the hurricane, they're eager to play, and I think they're really excited to play and just kind of test where they're at. The first thing I would tell you, though, the least important thing about this game is the score. Yes, you want to win. Winning is always good. But today's game is not about the score. I get the feeling that, there's going to be two things working against the Magic here. Yes, the loss of practice time. I think they're going to look a little rough offensively. Things are going to look a little bit off offensively and defensively. It just won't be tightened up. And there's still time to get that done. The Magic, I think, are playing a little bit of catch-up. They won't admit they are, but I think they'll be playing a little bit of catch-up. The other thing that I kind of think might happen tonight, I think they're going to have some heavy legs. This is normal for the first preseason game. You practice a lot. You get a lot of practice time in a short amount of time. Then you play these first games, and your shots end up coming up short or going long or one or the other. It's going to be rough. Preseason games, especially the first preseason game, can be very rough. Now, I say this, and of course the Magic played a brilliant first preseason game last year against the Boston Celtics, building a big lead until they pulled all their starters, and the Celtics came back and won the game. Looking really, really impressive in a lot of ways. Who knows what could happen? It's a preseason game. But the things that I really care about, the things that, if I'm able to watch the tape, if I'm able to watch the game, if I'm thumbing through highlights, the things I want to see are kind of not extended moments of solid play, but the little pockets of good play. What are the Magic doing when they're playing well? What are the Magic doing when they're rolling? And obviously you want to see it from starters. If it's Admiral, no offense to Admiral Schofield, no offense to Lean Ford, no offense to, Devin Kennedy, Xavier Simpson, Kevon Harris, no offense to those guys at the end of the bench. But I want to see the Magic, what the Magic do when their starters, when their reserve players are playing well. What are the successes they can grow on? Because a missed defensive rotation here, a missed open three there, that's stuff that's going to get fixed. That's stuff that I'm not so worried about. Now, if the offense is just completely bogged down and the offense just can't generate points, or, let's say they score only 80-something points and it's not because they're just missing a bunch of open shots, but the offense just doesn't have flow, that'll be a concern. That'll be a worry. If, the Magic are big on defending the paint, if the Magic struggle to defend the paint, that'll be a point of concern. But at the end of the day, this is a first preseason game. This is a game and a group that's going to have to figure some things out. And I do think that I don't think we should read too much into what we see in this first preseason game. I think this first preseason game, just let them get out on the floor, test some things out, especially test lineups out, find some flow, find what's working, and then really figure out how to expand that and tighten things up so that it works more consistently. It's that's really what tonight is about. So again, we'll go over the final score. We'll go over the box score. We'll talk a little bit about that. That's the least important stuff from the game tonight. That's the stuff that we should care about less. It's the moments that matter. It's the flow. It's getting Paolo out there and just letting him feel an NBA arena, letting him feel an NBA game, even at preseason speed. And again, figuring out what needs to be tightened up, what successes that they have and can expand on, and what might actually work as we get closer and closer to the regular season. Now, I'm a big believer that in the preseason, you want to look better at the end of the preseason than you do at the beginning of the preseason. You want to see that progression get better so that you're comfortable that, okay, they're ready for these games to count. At the end of the day, this game doesn't count. It's not important. It's the first preseason game. It's kind of the baseline to say, okay, this is where we're at. We need to get to here. Let's start connecting those dots. Let's start figuring out how we can get to that point. That's what this game is about, and that's what we really should be watching. So if you're able to watch a game, that's a lot better than looking at a box score, because the box score is probably not going to be as pretty as the game itself. The game itself going to actually be ugly, but you get the point. That's what I'd be looking for tonight. That's what I'll be focusing on tonight as we begin to break down this game. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. Now that you're done listening to us, go check out the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the planet. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Get that leg up as fantasy basketball season is here now. As is the preseason, we'll be excited to analyze the Magic's game against the Memphis Grizzlies on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.